Hello everyone, welcome to my watercolor tutorial. This demonstration is about how to paint palm trees, in this case cabbage palm trees. The cabbage palm tree is a very interesting palm tree in that everything within the upper area of the palm is pretty much within a circle. And everything sticks out, some of the fronds stick out a little bit from that circle, but for the most part, everything is within a circle. So that's the way I'm gonna paint it. And there's also always some dry fronds that are hanging, especially if the palm hasn't been taken care of. So let's get to the fun part of this demonstration, which is the painting. And I'm going to use, for the most part, my round brushes. I usually use flat brushes, but this time I'm going to use round brushes in this demonstration. I'm going to start by adding a little bit of water, kind of dampening the paper in some of these lower fronds. Like that. And then I'm going to bring in a little bit of sepia with some yellow ochre, maybe, something like that. And with a dry brush effect, clean my brush here. With a dry brush effect, I'm going to just add a little bit of color to that, because the sunlight is hitting them, and so there's going to be some white on these fronds, dry fronds. So that's what I'm going to do. Just very lightly, almost not touching the paper at all. There's still a little bit of dampness here, so I'm going to do the same thing. Very little of the sepia. Just add a little. Notice how I'm holding the brush too, way back, not towards the tip. And there we are. Before the paper dries on me, I'm going to get some burnt umber and give a little bit of extra color to some of these browns. Not too much. Get just a little bit of that color there. I don't want to do away with all those whites. There we are. Okay, so now, then I'm going to get some of this gray that I have in my palette already. And I'm just going to go ahead and do the trunk. Right. Remember, just finish it down there like that. Same thing over here. There, like that. So that's basically it for now. So now, I'm going to use a mop brush, and I'm going to add a little bit of water to the center. And then I'm going to bring in some raw sienna. A little bit more water in my brush. A little bit of raw sienna and some greens, light greens. I'll start adding a little bit of the color like this. I think I'm going to change brushes. I'm going to go back to my number 10 round I feel better about this brush here. I'll get some more raw sienna. And get some green, a little bit of aureolin yellow, and add some color in the center, like this, and come down with a dry brush effect onto those lower fronds. Bring a little bit more of the raw sienna on the green, there, like that. And now I'm going to add just a little bit more water to my brush, but not too much. And holding the brush way back in the handle, excuse me, I'll start doing some of the effects of the strokes for the fronds, like that. Like that. Then come back over here. You have to hold the brush this way. Otherwise, if you do this, you're gonna lose control. This is better to hold the brush this way. Notice how far back I'm holding it. And then do this with the decisive strokes, like that. A little bit more water in my brush, more of the raw sienna, so a little bit of the aureolin yellow, a little bit of sepia, and come back over here. And do that. And get some of these lighter colors over here. But don't do it away with those whites. Like that. Come back over here. And stay within that circle. Okay, so now I'm going to bring another color, new gamboge with some much deeper yellow. I'm going to use some cerulean blue with that, and add a little bit of more greens. This time I'm going to hold the brush a little closer to the tip. I'm going to bring some ultramarine blue to that too. And start getting some of the other greens. Like that. But staying with the raw sienna in that mixture. Okay, I'm gonna stop right here and let this dry. Like that. Now I'm gonna go to the other one. Here I'm gonna add a little bit of water, color water there. Get some of that raw sienna. A little bit of the cerulean blue, mix it there. And do the same thing. Get the mass of green in the center. And start doing some of the lower fronds right down to the ones that are dry. And then come back and go back this way. And do that, like that. There we are. Put some over here. Go. Like that. This is the base color for now. Okay, so now I'm going to start darkening the values of those colors, but I'm keeping the same colors. But now I'm going to use some ultramarine blue with that raw sienna and a little bit of sepia. I'm going to start darkening some of these colors a little bit more. I'm going to bring in more of the ultramarine now. Like this. Get some of those darker colors there. I'm going to bring some Payne's gray into that mixture, more sepia, much darker now, and start doing some of this other bronze in the darker areas. Like that. Same thing over here. Get some really dark effects in this area. Like this. There will be some behind here that are kind of dry. I'm going to use some burnt umber also. Much darker colors. Like that. Like that. Now we start getting some of the really dark ones over here. Some over here. And we'll bring a little bit of burnt sienna into that mixture. And these fronds that are dry, they are very dark. Like that. Bring some of those colors over here. That, there we are. I'll come back over here and do some of the dark, really dark ones. Like that. And that palm is almost done. I'm going to clean my brush, bring some more burnt umber, and separate the bristles in my brush by pressing it against the palette, and add some of that burnt umber over here. Like that, and that palm is done. So we go over here. We'll do the same thing. Get some of the darker effects on the opposite side of these fronds. Get some shadows on this. I'm going to do the same thing, some shadows on this palm trunk. Like that. Get some really dark colors over here. Doing the strokes in the opposite way. Get more darker colors on the other side. Like that. Same thing over here. And now I go to the raw sienna again, some cerulean blue on the gray, dark green rather, and come over here and do some of those darker fronds that are hanging over this, the dry rot type areas. All of this is done pretty much with almost with a dry brush. Like that. Very little water in my brush, mostly color. Like that. More dark green in some areas over here. Because there's some shadow areas within the fronds. Like that. I'm going to add some of that over here too. There. Yeah. Well, those palms are done. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the other one. Bring some burnt sienna. And add a little bit of that burnt sienna into some of these areas. A little bit more over here. And that's how you do the cabbage palms. You can add a few of the colors because sometimes there's a little bit of orange or type color, so I'm going to add little touches of quinacridone gold deep in some areas like this, just a few touches. Something like that. There. Okay. That's it. Hope you enjoyed this demonstration. Enjoy this little painting. And please visit my website at aafinearts.com. There you will see information about my virtual classes and a selection of my paintings and prints. Thank you again. Until next time.